Alright guys, this should be your last video on the different kingdoms, and it is on Kingdom Animalia, everybody's favorite, mostly because they've heard about it before, because even in elementary school you talked about animals. And so as we're doing this, you need to fill out your graphic organizer. Now, your graphic organizer after this video should be complete, but if you are still missing things, go back and watch the other videos or go on my webpage and you can look at the Prezi presentations. Either way is fine with me as long as you're getting the information. And so we'll go ahead and get started. Kingdom Animalia. Now, Kingdom Animalia, they are multicellular eukaryotic organisms. Now, multicellular means that they have more than one cell, and more to the point, they have cells that all work together to form tissues, and then tissues that work together to perform the same function that make organs, and then organ systems that perform similar functions to a common goal, which make organ systems. Now, not all animals are all the way up to organ systems, but those levels of organization are going to come into play at this point. Now, by eukaryotic, that does mean that animal cells do have a nucleus and they do have membrane-bound organelles. In fact, this is the anatomy of a typical animal cell. This should look extremely familiar to you because about October-ish is when we talked about eukaryotic cells and their structures, and we had to study a nice little picture of this cell. You had to learn organelle function. We talked about how the cell membrane works. So these should not be unfamiliar to you. And you can see right here the nucleus right in the middle. Now, cell wall, no. Don't ever put a cell wall on an animal cell if you want to be thought of as a person who actually passed my class. But anyway, they don't have the cell wall. Animal cells do not need it. They evolved in a way differently than plants and fungi. Now, they do have a cell membrane. Now, the cell membrane can control the molecules going in and out of the cell, and but they don't have that rigid structure in the same manner that plant and fungi do. Instead, animals evolved other ways to get that rigid structure and to be able to become bigger than a couple of cell levels deep. They have exoskeletons, and some have muscular or skeletal systems, and those are the ways that they are able to become complex organisms. Now, some examples of animals, and a little introduction into two of the major groups. Here's our African safari montage, and these are all vertebrates. Now, a vertebrate has a backbone, and if you feel the back of your neck to feel those nice little knobs of your spine, you will realize that you also have a backbone and are a vertebrate. Now, these animals, they have a backbone, they have skeletal structure, they have muscular structure, and that is what gets the basic support that they need so that they can survive as multicellular organisms. Now, a whole other and much larger group of Kingdom Animalia are the invertebrates. Now, invertebrates do not have a backbone. They don't have a skeletal system. They do have an exoskeleton. Now, an exoskeleton is a skeleton that's on the outside of the body. Think of it like a suit of armor. Now, not all of these have an exoskeleton, but many of them do. All of them in this picture do. Now, there's some echinoderms when you look at the starfish. There are some crustaceans here, but these are all invertebrates, and it is a much larger group in Kingdom Animalia. Now, also, this nice little picture of our little tropical fish tank. It's a beauty. Fish are vertebrates, but the nice little forest of the ocean behind you in this, that's coral. Coral is also a member of Kingdom Animalia. It looks a whole lot like plants when you look at it, but if you look at it on a cellular level, it is definitely not a member of Kingdom Plantae. Now, nutrition-wise, all members of Kingdom Animalia are heterotrophs. Now, heterotrophs, as we learned at the very beginning of the year, they get their nutrition from feeding on other organisms. They cannot make their own food. There are several types of heterotrophs. There are herbivores. Herbivores eat plants. So cows, deer, rabbits, zebra, they all eat plant life. They are herbivores, or herbivores. You can say it either way. Carnivores eat other animals. Anything that hunts any of those things that are herbivores, or any other things that it's another animal it eats, is a carnivore. Now, omnivores can subsist on plants and animals. They get their nutrition from both. Now, along with these three types of heterotrophs, you have generalists and you have specialists. Now, a generalist is an animal that will eat many different things. They're pretty flexible. If one source gets a little scarce, they will go after something else. Now, specialists, they only eat certain things, and some only eat one thing. For example, a koala only eats eucalyptus leaves. It doesn't deviate from that plan very much. They're very the eucalyptus tree and koalas very much are in a relationship together. One does not coexist without the other, kind of thing. Great white sharks, they eat a couple different things, but even though Jaws told you they eat humans, they actually don't eat a whole lot of different things. They eat tuna, they eat seals. They might prey upon something else, but they like to stick to the same kind of things. Now, locomotion wise, if you thought of this movement, then an animal is probably around that can do it. Now, some ways that they can move include crawling and gliding, flying, swimming, walking, and running. Now, not every animal can do all of these things. There are lots of species of monkeys who can't swim, for example. There are many animals that cannot fly, and especially unless they're falling because of gravity. But most animals can do a couple of them. Now, sponges, barnacles, coral, and a couple other things. As adults, those animals are sessile, which means they don't move at all. But even those, at some stage in their life cycle, they do move. Most of the time, it's their juvenile forms. So, some nice pictures of some moving animals. Here's a flying owl. This is not a flying squirrel. This is a squirrel that happened to be captured mid-jump. There's a crocodile going for a swim. That would be something scary if you were in the ocean. Here is a polar bear, also something scary to see in the ocean, but they are super cute when you see them at the zoo. And here's a cheetah, one of the best runners in the natural world, chasing after some zebra. Okay, so that's the basics on Kingdom Animalia. In a next couple weeks, we're going to be dissecting several examples, and when we do that, we'll go in more depth into their tissues and how they're put together, their organs and other structures, and functionally how they use them to be better adapted to their environment. And we'll go a lot more in depth into Kingdom Animalia. But this is the basics, so you know what you're getting into before we go into more depth.